Hello everyone, welcome back to my class. In this video, we will discuss about the hardware structure of 8086 microprocessor, which is basically called as pinout or various pins available with this processor. In this, we will look in detail about the various pins available and its functionality, which in turn will help us to understand how 8086 processor generates addresses, control signal, or how data transfer takes place. 8086, also known as bus master, as it is capable of generating the addresses, control signals, and also capable of controlling the data transfer. As we know, any processor can broadly be divided into two parts. One is bus interface unit and the other one is execution unit. As the BIU is the unit which interacts with the external world like ROM, RAM or IO devices, it basically capable of generating the addresses from where we need to fetch the instruction, then capable of generating the control signal, which indicates whether we are going to perform read or write operation, and then is capable of doing data transfer. You can see from the direction of the buses here, the address is a unidirectional bus. Address and control signals, read and write signals are unidirectional bus. It is output from the processor. The processor generates the address, the processor generates the control signal. Whereas the data transfer, if you see, is a bidirectional bus. So data transfer can take place from the processor to the device or from the external device to the processor. And all these operations are done with respect to the clock as shown in the diagram. So as 8086 is a synchronous sequential circuit, you must have studied what is synchronous sequential circuit in your digital design course. All these operation, generation of address, generation of control signals, data transfer, all this happens with respect to this particular clock. Let us take a closer look to the 8086 pinout. As we can see here, 8086 is a 40-pin DIP IC, where DIP stands for Dual Inline Package IC. So the first few pins which we are going to look are the very important pin for 8086 to operate, to perform its basic functionality. So the first pin which we are going to look is the VCC pin. As all of us know, VCC is the voltage supply for 8086 processor and it is 5 volt in this case. Along with VCC, the next pin which will be required for the operation of the 86 processor is the ground pin. So we have two ground pin in this case, pin number 1 and pin number 20. And the next two very important signal which are required by the 8086 processor are the clock signal. As in the previous slide I discussed about the clock. The processor is a synchronous sequential circuit. So all the operations which are going to happen will take place with respect to this particular clock. And one cycle of this particular clock, which is the time period, is called as a state or a T state. The detail of this we will discuss while discussing the timing diagram for the read or write operation. But at present, just I will explain what is a state or T state. So you can see that here I have shown a clock pulse and the duration between two consecutive falling edges. Here it is T1 or T2, you can see, is called as the T state. The next pin which we are going to look is a reset pin. The reset signal is used to reset or initialize the processor. The processor will start from its initial location, like your code segment will go to the initial value which is FFFF, and IP will go to the initial value of 0000, and the processor will start from the beginning and it will repeat all the instructions given in the processor, and any data present in the register will be lost. So to reset the processor, this signal must be high for minimum of 4 clock pulses. The next pin we are going to discuss is MN/MX bar. MN/MX stands for minimum/maximum bar signal. 8086 and 8088 processor have two modes of operation: minimum mode of operation and maximum mode of operation. You can say that 8086 or 8088 processor can be configured to operate in minimum or maximum mode of operation. So what is this minimum and maximum mode of operation? We will try to understand here. Minimum mode of operation, basically when this MN/MX bar signal goes high, the processor will be operating in minimum mode of operation. And in minimum mode of operation, there will be only a single processor present in the computing system. Only 8086 or only 8088 processor will be present. The system will be smaller, cheaper system can be designed. And these are the set of pins which are available with the processor operating in minimum mode of operation. Then when MN/MX bar goes low, the processor will be operating in maximum mode of operation. So in maximum mode of operation, it is called as larger systems, or there will be more than one processor present in the computing system. Basically, we know that 8086 or 80286, 386, all these processors are fixed point operating processor. They can only perform fixed point operations. They cannot perform a floating point operation. So to perform floating point operation, this processor requires a coprocessor. So in maximum mode of operation, we can say that like 8086 is operating with 8087 as its coprocessor to perform floating point operation. So this is basically your maximum mode of operation. And under maximum mode of operation, these are the pins which are going to be available with the processor. The next set of pins we are going to discuss are the address pins or your address bus. So you can see here that 8086 processor have 20 address lines, A0 to A19. But these address lines are not available directly with the processor. We can see here that address line A0 to A15 is multiplexed with the data line D0 to D15 to give us AD0 to AD15. So lower address bus A0 to A15 are multiplexed with data bus D0 to D15, and the higher address bus A16 to A19 is multiplexed with some of the status signal S3 to S6. What is this multiplexing, or why we go for this multiplexing? As we know, to execute any instruction, the processor goes through a sequence of operation, like first it generates address, then it generates the control signal, and then data transfer takes place. So address and data transfer will not happen at the same point of time. So to reduce the size of the pin, the signals which do not occur at the same point of time can be multiplexed. So in this case, you can see the address bus is being multiplexed with the data bus and few status signals. As the address and data or address and status signals are being multiplexed, how we will understand whether these lines are carrying the address or data and status. So for that, we need some extra signals which is basically used to demultiplex address from data and status. The first signal which is used to demultiplex we are going to discuss is ALE. As the name says, it is address latch enable. This particular signal will be high whenever AD0 to AD15 and A16 slash S3 to A19 slash S6 will contain address on it. So, when ALE is active, the address will be available on these buses. So how ALE operates and how it demultiplexes address from data and status we'll see in the next slide. This is done with the help of a latch. So we'll first see how the latch works to separate, and then we'll see how it is used to separate the address from data and status signal. One more signal which we are going to look into along with the status signals are BHE bar slash S7. BHE bar stands for bus high enable slash S7. So bus high enable indicates whenever the data is available on the higher data bus D8 to D15. So here we will try to understand a little bit how data transfer takes place in 8086 processor. As we know, 8086 have 16-bit data line. Data transfer can take place in three different ways. Like either we are going to transfer 8-bit of data over D0 to D7 line, which is your lower data bus, or over D8 to D15, which is the higher data bus. And if at all I am transferring 8-bit of data over D8 to D15, at that time BHE bar signal should get activated or BHE bar signal should go low. Or there is a possibility I am going to transfer 16-bit of data. So if I am transferring 16-bit of data, I will be using D0 to D15. So in any of these two cases, D8 to D15 will be in use, and whenever D8 to D15 or higher order data bus is in use, BHE will go active. The signal S7 is always high. So now we will look into the detail of how the address bus is demultiplexed from data and status signal. So we will see how AD0 to AD15 is being demultiplexed to A0 to A15. Here we are going to use LS273 IC, which is an octal latch or a 8-bit latch. So basically how this octal latch operates, the octal latch have a output enable active low signal. So output will be enabled whenever this output enable signal goes low. So here you can see that we have connected to the ground. So my latch is enabled. Any value present in the input side will be available on the output side of the IC. And the gate signal in this case is used to transfer or latch the data. So as long as the gate signal is high, any change in the input side will get reflected on the output side or will be available on the output side. And as soon as the gate signal goes low, the output will be latched. So any change in the input side will no more be reflected at the output. The last output before the gate signal goes low available will be latched. So the question here may be why we need to latch the address. As you know that to handle the instruction, processor first generates an address. That address may be the address to the memory device or to the IO device. Next, the control signals are being generated. Control signals explains about whether the processor is going to read or write the data. And then data transfer takes place. So data transfer will be from the processor to that particular address or from the address to the processor. So once the address generated should remain until the instruction is completely executed or data transfer takes place. First we are going to generate the address. At that time my gate signal should be high so that any change in the input side will be reflected on the output side. Address is generated. Once the address is generated, the gate signal should go low to latch the address till the processor generates the next address. So here you can see that ALE is used to control the transfer of address or generation of address to the gate signal. So ALE is connected to the gate signal, output enable is permanently grounded. So any change in the input will get reflected at the output, and as soon as this gate signal goes low, the address will be latched, and address will remain latched until the next address is generated. So before the next address generated, there may be control signal generation, there may be data transfer, and then only the processor will generate the next address. A16 to A19 is multiplexed with status signal S3 to S6 and the BHE bar slash S7, which we have seen in the previous slide. A16 and A17 is multiplexed with the status signal S3 and S4. When ALE is high, buses will carry A16 and A17. When ALE is low, it will carry S3 and S4 information. S3 and S4 basically indicates the segment currently in access by the processor. So you can see here when S3 and S4 combination is 0, 0, extra segment will be in use or will be accessed by the processor. When it is 0, 1, stack segment, 1, 0 for code segment or no segment, and 1, 1 is for data segment in use or in access is accessed by the processor. So whenever ALE is high, we get the address lines, and whenever ALE goes low, the status signal will be available. Similarly, A18 is multiplexed with S5. The S5 signal A18 represents the 18th bit of the address line, and S5 indicates the status of the interrupt flag. Whereas A19 is multiplexed with S6. S6 is 0 always, and BHE bar slash S7, which we have discussed in detail in the previous slide. S7 is 1 always. So now in this slide you can see the detail of how the address bus is being demultiplexed from the data and status signal. This is the complete address bus of 8086. Actually we require 3 LS273 or octal latch to demultiplex the address bus from the data and status signal. The first LS273 will be connected to AD0 to AD7. The second latch will be connected to AD8 to AD15, and the third latch will be connected to A16 slash S3 to A19 slash S6 and BHE bar slash S7. You can see that the output enable line of each of these latch are grounded and the gate signal is connected to ALE. You can see that whenever ALE is high or whenever these pins contain address in it, ALE will go high, and as soon as ALE goes high, the gate signal will be high, and any change in the input side will be reflected or will be available on the output side as a address bus. So you can see that how the processor demultiplex address from data and status signal. Hope this is helpful. Similarly, in the next video, I'm going to talk about the generation of the control signal, the data bus, and few more pins of 8086. Thank you for watching my video.